you didn't get admitted yet. You got to come up, young lady. Enter the ID. Enter the meeting ID so I can let you in. We are live. We are live. Same one from last week. Well, welcome. Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Ladies Lounge. Oh, I'm so glad to see everyone here today for the Ladies Lounge. We give God praise for yet another wonderful day that He has let us live to see by His grace and mercy only that He let us live to see today, because so many have lost their lives, so many are not well in the hospital, etc., etc. Well, welcome to the Ladies Lounge. I am your host, MCA Aldridge, coming directly on Facebook Live. And we thank God for all of you that are watching via WhatsApp, Facebook Live, YouTube, whatever means that the World Wide Web has provided. And this communication, we just thank God for a wonderful day. It's so beautiful and sunshiny. Those of you that are here in New York, it's a beautiful sunshiny day, and we just give God praise that we are here to see yet another day. Glory to God. So this is the Ladies Lounge, the place that we can learn, love, hallelujah, and laugh. So we have many people from different walks of life that comes to the Ladies Lounge, and of course we learn new things on the Ladies Lounge, and then also, which is can be from cooking, a book, information that's important to our society today, and also just learning about each other. A place to learn, a place to lull, which is a relaxing. This is a relaxing setting, and then also a place. Oh my gosh, to laugh. We need some comedians on here too. I am not a comedian, even though I like to crack some jokes sometimes. Hallelujah. So the Ladies Lounge is a place. Our theme scripture is Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Oh, glory to God. And it's a time for us to learn and to lull and to laugh. Today, we will be learning from our special guest. Of course, she's also a member of Sanctuary of Praise and Worship Center, our wonderful Shatara Earl. She is an employee of the New York State, correct?
City.
New York City Department of Health and Food Safety. And we know in these days and times, we need to be as safe as possible. And she's going to be talking to us today about food safety. And it's very important for us to know these things today because of the COVID-19. So these are things that everyone needs to know. Even though this is New York City, you may be watching it from some other place. But even though you're watching it from some other city, some other town, or maybe another country, watching this thing, I need you to pay attention, make notes, and also practice the things that she is about to talk to us about because we need to learn these things in these days and times. So she is Shatara Earl, and she is here to talk to us about food safety. Welcome, Miss Earl.
Hello.
Hello.
So, as Pastor said, I work for the City Department of Health under the Division of Food Safety. My department is Health Academy. And at Health Academy, what we do is we educate people that work in the five boroughs who either work in a restaurant, on a mobile food vending cart, and a mobile food vending cart includes the ice cream truck. And that also includes the icy ladies, not only the halal truck. Um, we also educate the animal care, the dog walkers, the pet shops, the doggy daycares. We educate them. We provide services for education for soup kitchens that are either in churches or an actual soup kitchen facility. Some daycares, they use a soup kitchen certificate. The Department of Health, very rarely they use soup kitchen, but they mostly use the food protection certificate. We also take care of infection control. So if you're out there getting permanent makeup done or tattooing, you have to make sure that they have their infection control license, which we also call the tattoo license. So what the restaurant people need, which this only includes people who cook or prepare food, they need a food protection certificate. And you can obtain this food protection certificate either by coming into our classroom, which we hold the classes Monday through Friday. And the time frames we have for the classes are from 9 to 12, 1 to 4, and 5 to 8 p.m. And we only do the 5 to 8 p.m. in the winter, in the fall, and spring. In the summertime, we generally take a break and we don't do the 5 to 8 p.m., but the 9 to 12 and the 1 to 4 continue. Or if, and that cost, that will cost you $114. But if $114 is something you don't have at the moment, you can take our free online course, and all you have to pay after you complete all 15 lessons is $24. The trick with that is every lesson, it's 15 lessons. Every lesson comes with a series of quizzes, and you have to get all the questions in the quiz correct. If you don't get them correct, you have to repeat that one lesson. And then for the infection control license, we do that about twice a month. That's $26. And we only offer those classes when we do offer them from 9 to 1. With the animal care, that's also three times, well, that's actually 3 times a month. That is $39. And the class is actually a 2 day class. And you'll be with us from 9 to 4 for those 2 days. We also do the horse and carriage. So those are the guys or the females you see in Central Park or Prospect Park with the horses. We also educate them, and we also offer that twice or 3 times a month. We don't get a lot of people, and you'll be with us pretty much from 9 to 4 as well. As far as the soup kitchen, we try to offer that except for in the summertime when we have all the summer camp happening. We offer that once a month, but by May to July, we offer it at least 3 times a month. That's free. And you can sign up for the soup kitchen class by calling 311, or you can go onto the website, which I will post later on in the comment section. Now, as far as COVID, oh, mobile vending, I forgot about mobile vending. So the mobile vending license is $50. There are different kind of mobile vending license. There's the permanent mobile vending license for someone who like has a halal truck and they want to sell throughout the year. They have a temporary and a seasonal one. There's a website that I'll post where you can research all of that later. But the class that you have to take with us is $53. With all the classes that we offer, except for infection control, if you fail the class, you do have to pay for the class and take it over again. Like with mobile vending, if you fail the class, you don't have to pay $50 for the license. You just pay for the class again. Infection control, at the moment, we do allow you to retake the class again and the exam for that one fee of $26. So with COVID-19, considering that I work in the health department, it might seem like we get extra information or more information than the public, but we get the same amount of information as the public gets. So I'm just going to reiterate a lot of the things that was already talked about. And there's also websites that I will also post at the end too, where you can click and read it for yourself. So some of the things that, of course, is important is washing your hands for 20 seconds continuously. And that's not just doing this. You have to lather up, make sure your hands are wet. You have to wash between your hands, on the sides. The wrists are very important. On the outsides of the hands, get in between. Don't forget the thumbs. And you have to do this for 20 seconds continuously. And it's very important that we teach our students, do not take your hands that you just touched the faucet with after you washed it. You need to take the paper towel or a napkin, turn it off. And don't use that same paper towel to dry off your hands. Get a different paper towel to dry off your hands, because what you're doing is you're cross contaminating and you'll have to do it all over again. In the restaurant business, we teach them that they have to wear gloves at all times when preparing food. Once you start preparing food, of course, wash your hands, then put on the gloves. But once you start preparing raw meat, after you're done with that, you have to take off the gloves. And it's important to know how to take off your gloves. You do not take off your gloves by, touching. You have to, generally, we say pinch the palm and pull it off. And then you take the finger, this is the hand that I took the glove off, and you take this finger and you try to get it underneath the glove and you try to roll it out without having to really touch your hand. But if this hand happens to touch it, it's fine because you're going to wash it anyways. And you roll them up together and you toss them in the garbage and you have to wash your hands. They know that they're supposed to wash their hands consistently and change their gloves consistently. They know that. Now, if you're in a restaurant where it's open and you can see everything happening, number one thing is the cashier should never touch your money with the same glove she's putting your food in the container with. They know better than that. If you see that she or he is taking the container with that same glove, you have a right as a consumer to say, do not use that same glove. Please take that glove off, wash your hands, and get another container. I don't even want that container because it's contaminated, because money has a crazy amount of germs on it, and that's cross contamination. Now, if the cashier is not the one preparing your food and you see someone else doing it, that's already over there preparing food, that's fine. Now, gloves is what they're supposed to use to put your food in containers. They're supposed to use wax paper. They can use thongs, and wax paper thongs. Yeah, that's it. Also, the mask. So, of course, we know that the governor and the mayor wants everybody to wear masks. And masks can be like the regular ones you put on, it can be a handkerchief, it doesn't matter. So, what I found out was that children under the age of 2 are not technically required to wear it because they're not going to keep it on their face. Even though knowing that now they're saying that kids get a different variation of the COVID-19, which would make me very nervous. If your child, my recommendation is if your child is under 2, leave them at home if possible. If you can't, then try to social distance yourself. Now, there are people, even I've noticed it, where everybody else is wearing a mask, but there's these few people who refuse to wear masks, not even because it's a medical condition, just because they don't want to. So on the website, it says that you can complain to the restaurant owner and say, listen, there's a person that's either not practicing social distancing or not wearing a mask, and I don't feel comfortable. The restaurant owner has a right to refuse services to that person and make them leave the restaurant, because 6 feet apart is very important. And if we can't practice 6 feet apart with a mask or without a mask, it's a problem because everyone's going to get infected. So that's one of the key things to do too. Even though you're wearing a mask, make sure you stay 6 feet apart from people because even still somebody can cough and things just you're still gonna get it either way. So it's better to keep 6 feet apart and to stay away from crowds. So if you go to find out one of your favorite restaurants is open and it's crowded in there, the restaurant owners know that they're not supposed to have their restaurants open where it's too many people inside. It has to be a few people at a time where you can have social distancing. So if you're outside and there's no markers, and they're also required to have markers for 6 feet apart, and they're also required to have signs that tell you that you have to wear a mask in order to be serviced or permitted inside. So even some of them outside, they don't have the markers. It's important that you as an individual know to keep a certain amount of space away from 6 feet, if you know, away from another person outside. Another thing is generally when you go into a restaurant and someone is preparing food, we try to emphasize cleanliness. Their clothes shouldn't be filthy dirty. Their apron shouldn't always be filthy dirty, but sometimes it's hard to tell if that person's apron is the same apron from yesterday or they was just busy cooking. They shouldn't have be because personal hygiene is just as important when you're preparing food. If your hair is filthy and dirty and you out there cooking people food and dandruff or whatever falls out, even hair. So we also tell them that they have to keep proper hair constraint. That is a hat or a net. As long as their hair is pulled back with a hat or a net, they're good. We also tell the guys with the beards to put some kind of covering. So a lot of times, and I found this out just before we close, they'll take a mask like this and they'll do this with their beard because some of their hair might fall into the food. And so this is okay. Don't think it's like somebody has really bad cold or they're really sick. It's just to make sure that none of the hair falls into the stuff. And also, they're not supposed to wear a whole bunch of rings on their hands. The only rings they can have on is their wedding band or their engagement ring wedding band. If you in long nails, technically they're not supposed to have long nails because long nails keep dirt inside as well. So it's kind of important. Well, it really is important if they have long nails to also wear gloves because that causes cross contamination as well with dirt and everything else in it. But other than that, when you go into a restaurant and you're being serviced, you should never be afraid to, if you see something wrong, like if you see a food particle in your drink, or you see a piece of food that has nothing to do with what you're eating, you have a right to complain to the waitress or waiter and let them know you want a different drink, or there's something in your food that doesn't belong in your food. There are there are a lot of regulations that we have out there to protect the public and each other because generally people that work in a restaurant also eat in a restaurant. So we try to make sure that every single New Yorker out there is safe concerning food. So one of the things that we do, like when you go to a all you can eat buffet, there is a such thing called they have to keep the food at a certain temperature and they have a 2 hour window. They have to keep reheating the food and they only can reheat the food for a certain amount of time. So if you go to a all you can eat buffet and there's a particular food like fried chicken that's cold and you got that fried chicken from the bottom, you as the individual can go up and speak to the manager and say, listen, how you can ask them how long was this fried chicken out here because it's cold. All hot food is supposed to stay hot. All cold food is supposed to stay cold, generally. And so basically, what you need to make sure you're doing. I mean, I know when the kids go back to school, we're not gonna send them with Lysol spray, but to make sure that your kids at least have hand sanitizer and try to teach them now about using a hand sanitizer before they eat. Because for me, I have a 7-year-old son, and what he told me is if they go outside and play first, and then they come in to eat, and a lot of times the food that they eat with their hands. And with Corona going around, I'm not for sure if they're going to go back to school or not because at this point they're not saying anything. You want to make sure that they understand you put the hand sanitizer on your hand the same way you would wash your hands and you let it air dry. And once your hands are dry, then you can proceed to eat. And us as adults, we can do the same thing because we're not always by sink to wash our hands or have water. So these are like some of the things you can do. There's also if you feel a need to complain about any restaurant like a mobile food vending truck, an ice cream truck, or any business at all during Corona and not during Corona, I'm also going to post a link where you can go to the website and you can also make a complaint through there or call 311 and make a complaint. Also, you can check the restaurant's grade. There's a website for that. So if there's a restaurant that you see that it's dirty inside, you see mice droppings, you see roaches. There's so many flies. It's disgusting. It smells funny in there. You can go on there, check the grade, and then and or there's another separate website. You can even call 311 and say, listen, give them the name of the restaurant, the address. If you know the building number, give them that in the street or just the name of the restaurant. And they'll look it up, and then a complaint will go through, and they will send one of our inspectors out there to inspect it because New York City is very big on making sure that restaurant owners and facilities and the workers follow all protocols to make sure that everyone's safe and healthy. And that's about it.
I do have concerning the grade. Remember, we were talking about the grade. You were talking about the why does a certain restaurant have a certain grade on the window of the
Right.
restaurant?
So a lot of times if you know, sometimes we're not for sure. Sometimes when a restaurant just opens up, they have about a 3 to 6 month window before the inspectors will come back to make sure that they are operating under the laws of food protection. So before a restaurant is open, they go through a pre-inspection. That means they make sure that all the equipment that they have is up to par, up to code. And then when the inspector comes back anytime during business hours of the business, and they will check the functionality of the equipment to make sure that the chef or the cooks are following protocol and are using and storing food accordingly, and make sure that the staff is aware of what they should be doing as well. Now, when you see pending, if it's a new restaurant, that means that usually they don't have anything in the window if it's a brand new restaurant, but sometimes they might. But if you see pending on a restaurant that you know has been open for a long time, what happens is they would have gotten a grade that they didn't agree with the inspector about. And they have a right to say, I don't agree with that. So what the inspector has to do is they have to give them a pending grade in the window, and then they have to go to tribunal court to fight that grade. And if they win, let's say the restaurant is immaculate, they're always great, there's no complaints. But this time they get a B because maybe somebody new started and then they left the garbage in the kitchen near the refrigerator, and an inspector came before they could remove it, so they gave them a B. The Once the judge feels, or if the judge feels like the restaurant is in the right, they'll give them the grade that the restaurant feels or should have had by looking at everything that the whole grade that the inspector did, like the whole not the grade, everything that the inspector had cited, and then they'll give them the grade. Then there are the ones who actually didn't do good, and they're fighting to not get the F or not to be closed, or whichever case it is. It depends on what pending is. But usually pending is they're fighting because they don't like the grade that they have and they want a higher grade. Generally, they go and revisit all the restaurants in New York City. They try to do it twice a year, but there's so many that pop up so often that it's kind of hard to do. So, like I said, if you see that a restaurant has an A, but you see that their facility is horrible, like they just stop caring, you have the right to literally call and say, listen, this restaurant, the floors are filthy and sticky. It smells funny in here. I'm seeing mice droppings, or I saw a mice or a rat, and I'm not comfortable eating here.
I wanted to ask you, supermarkets, is supermarkets and pharmacies, are they also under the Department of Health, or how does, I know some of the supermarkets, they have a deli in there, so I guess that would be under your classification. But what about, not, they're not under you.
No, they are under agriculture and the state. So agriculture, but they're trying to merge supermarkets in, like what's that store? Amazon is a part of it. Um, I forgot the name of it. Certain big retail stores, like let's say I don't want to say Walmart, but like delis, though, or the supermarket that have a deli inside, they're all under the agriculture umbrella. So you would call agriculture to come and check them out. But they've been working on merging them under food safety because it doesn't make sense to some people say it doesn't make sense that they're under them when they're under us. But I guess because they are part of agriculture, I suppose they wanted to keep it that way, but they're merging them under us.
So the grade, when a person gets a grade, say they get a B grade or B plus grade, whatever. So what are the grades first of all? Grade A, B, do they have B plus, whatever? Like school, tell me what the grades, how they go.
Generally, it's just A, B, and C. Excuse me.
Okay.
The inspectors say that there isn't really a F. I mean, if you're gonna get an F, they're shutting you down. There's no point in putting an F out there. But there are some individuals they do put an F on them because they like a lot of restaurant owners try to be funny with us. It's illegal to take the grade out of your window. You're not supposed to. That grade is legally there. You can't take it out. I've heard stories where restaurant owners took the grade out and put another grade there and then opened up. And there have been consumers of the neighborhood that know they're supposed to be closed that complained and called on them, and they called food safety. And food safety goes back in there, take the grade out, and say, "Listen, you know better than this. We're taking this. We're shutting you down. That's it." And they'll wait till food safety leaves, give it a couple of hours, and do it again. And they'll put the F there just because these hard-headed people, because if they say, okay, you're closed down, that's it. Because generally, when we close down a restaurant, they take away their food protection certificate and they give them a chance to come back to get re-educated by us to get a new food protection certificate. Then they have to go back to food safety with a new food protection certificate and a form filled out certifying they did in fact take the class. They do qualify to reopen again. And then they go through a whole process with them to reopen again, but it's generally A, B, and C. And they do get 6 months if they're like B and C to fix, because they get a copy of what's wrong and they get a chance to fix what the problem is, so that when the inspector does come back, that they at least know, listen, you got this copy, this one, A, B, and C was wrong. I still see that it hasn't fixed, and then they go through another route about correcting that, or um, basically finding closing them down if has to be. If it got worse or it didn't change, they give them the same grade and be like, okay, we're coming back in a month. You have a month to correct it. So they do give them chances, but to some extreme.
Okay. So the chefs, all chefs in restaurants, all the chefs, do they all have to have a license as a chef to work in the restaurant? And is that included, their license? Is that also a part of what the restaurant, in order for the restaurant to operate or to be in business, do they have to have a chef that is also a licensed chef?
No. So the only license they have to have is the food protection certificate. And I
Okay.
should have bought that so you could see it. I might run and go get that. But with the food protection certificate, that's the only thing that they must have, because what happens is when the inspect first of all, the food protection certificate is proof that you know what you're supposed to do when it comes to cooking. So for us, we service not only the five boroughs, but we do have people that come from Long Island, they come from Westchester, we have people that come from California, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, all over the country. They come because majority of the time they work in the city, and a lot of them want to open up businesses. And also the
Okay.
food protection certificate um, is also needed if you want to become a manager in a restaurant. So
Okay.
not only does the chef have it, the managers have it, because the managers have to reiterate what the whole staff is supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
If your manager doesn't know what they're talking about or don't know what they're doing, then there's a problem. And that's when you see food going out that's cold, undercooked, um, the plate is dirty, you got food in your water and things, hair in your food. It gets a bit messy. So if the chef doesn't have it and you're letting them cook, some people do it. The only way they really get caught is if an inspector actually happens to come in
Yes.
while that unlicensed chef come in. But a lot of the chefs, they do come from culinary school, and that also helps for the owner to know that this person, knows what they're doing. But they have to have a food protection certificate. That's the only thing that's required.
Okay. About the restaurants. Now that the we have this new issue of COVID-19, I remember, everyone knows I'm a big Panera Bread fan. So before my Panera Bread here in Valley Stream, they never used to have the hand sanitizer in front of the in the area where you go to when you just come into the restaurant. But I noticed they put it there like 2 months now. Is it something now that restaurants are supposed to provide hand sanitizers in the open area that people can see it and they come in and use the sanitizer, or is that optional?
That is optional for them to provide to the public, but for their staff, they have to provide the mask, the gloves, and hand sanitizer when needed. Because generally they don't want workers using hand sanitizer. But I mean, if you're at the cash register, who's gonna keep running back and forth? So you got to use the hand sanitizer.
Okay, okay. What about the CPR certificate? Because some restaurants will have that displayed there as to the procedures on how to do CPR and how to deal with a person that's choking. We know this is the universal sign of somebody choking, but does the restaurant have to have somebody on staff that knows how to do CPR, or have the defibrillator, or is that required?
I'm not for sure about that because with the education that they teach the students, they don't mention that. But food safety and consumer affairs. Consumer affairs is one of the places you can go to. Actually, it's the only place you can go in person to pay for the courses. They do provide those signs for the restaurants. They should have someone available to do it, but they're not. As far as I know, they're not required to have someone on staff. But that would probably be something that would be on the checklist for qualifications to open up. They might. I guess it depends on what kind of restaurant it is.
For chain restaurants, like as I said, Panera Bread, um, each chain has to have their own license. Each because say you have Panera Bread all over the country, or you just have
Hmm.
a restaurant down here. I live in Rosedale, and if I just have one restaurant, that food safety certificate, it's each restaurant supposed to have that recorded there, or if it's a chain restaurant, would it be each restaurant that has to have it, or if it's just, I know for one for sure, but what about a chain like Panera Bread, Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts, and things like that?
Okay, so I thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to mention that. So what we do is we educate all the fast food restaurants, all the chains, every restaurant. We also deal with airports, all the airports, all the food stores, restaurants in the airports. we educate them as well. They have, so the airport and the fast food restaurants, they go to, well, the fast food restaurants, they have a facility where the culinary teacher is certified by us. We've worked with him for years. He teaches them the course. They come to us to take the exam. In the airport, they have someone there too that teaches them. And what happens is, the food protection certificate, it used to be a big giant one about this size that would have your picture on it in the middle. It has the food protection number on it, the date that they received it, and it says this qualify you for having food protection. So those were the only things that's supposed to be posted on the wall. The food protection certificate card is the same size as your ID or your credit card. That is not supposed to be posted at all. That should be on the person at all times in a pocket or wallet. And every single person that deals with food, or sometimes they'll have just different staff, like somebody who multitask. Like for Starbucks or Panera Bread, the cashier might not be the cook. The cashier just might be somebody who just likes to do everything. So she'll go ahead and she'll have the food protection certificate. And at the time that perhaps an inspector comes, she won't be on a cash register. She'll be back there pre-packaging food that was already prepared. And so they are all required, each facility is required to at least have two people who have the food protection certificate, just in case one person happened to step off to go get supplies or is running late, at least there's another person there. Now, if you get a nice inspector and they are told that the chef who stepped off to get food just stepped out and they'll be right back, the inspector will wait. But there is a $1,200 fine, I believe, for not having anyone on the premises with a food protection certificate. So each chain is responsible for having at least two on staff at every shift as a food protection certificate.
You mentioned about tattoo parlors. So you Department of Health and Food Protection. It covers, of course, obviously we talked about restaurants, but also how does you said you also deal with tattoo parlors and what about nail
Permanent
salons?
makeup. So
Nail salon.
we don't. Well, they were trying to. I haven't heard anything about them actually implementing it, but they were trying to get the nail salons underneath our inspection as well, considering so many people have complained about getting infections and funguses from not getting the proper care because they're supposed to sanitize after every client, they're supposed to sanitize their tooth. The same thing with tattoo. The tattoo artists, they not supposed to operate without a tattoo license, not in their own home or anywhere. It's supposed to be in a tattoo facility. And the same thing with permanent makeup. It has to be in a facility that is by the Department of Health. But the nail salons, I asked because I wasn't for sure because I heard at one time a lady had came and said she worked at the nail salon, and she came to take a picture. Because generally, what we also do is we do renewals. So if you needed to get a renewal for your tattoo or permanent makeup license, which is infection control, your mobile vending, you come to us with proof of payment. We take your picture, we send it to Consumer Affairs because all the licenses, except for food protection and soup kitchen and animal care, those three come from us directly. But
Hmm.
mobile vending, infection control, horse and carriage, those come from Consumer Affairs, and that's located at 42 Broadway near Wall Street.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so you said about pet care. Um, Now, considering we have this new situation now with, of course, we're dealing with the COVID-19, what
Hmm.
are the requirements for people that actually work at a pet shop or the people that bring their animal? I don't have any pets, but for people that are watching that have pets, that would they have to take their pet to the pet shop. What are the things that a person is supposed to look at when they get into the pet shop to have their dog groomed or the nails manicured, whatever they're going to do at the pet shop? what are the things that a person is supposed to look for when they actually get to the pet shop to see how my pet will be taken care of
So
in
the
the
first
COVID
thing
19?
well, yes, the first, well, when if and when they do allow them to be open, the first thing you should make sure to notice is, of course, that it's clean. And I would also ask, how often do they sanitize? Because cleaning is different from sanitizing. And then the next thing you want to make sure is the area that your pet is being held at is also clean. And of course, a pet shop or a facility that hosts pets, it's going to smell like pets is there. But you want to make sure there isn't any smell that is just like fecal matter. It's an excessive, like any strong odor. You want to make sure that's not there. And two, you want to add. They haven't really touched. Actually, they haven't touched on pet shops or anything in that capacity yet. They've mostly focused on restaurants, and only restaurants opening if they can do pickup and delivery.
Mhm.
So there's no seating. No restaurant should have any chairs down. There should be nowhere where you should sit at. So I think personally, my personal opinion is if I still had my dog and I had to take him to a doggy daycare or I had to take him to well, dog walkers usually have keys to your apartment and they'll go pick up your dogs and then they bring them back. But if I had to take them anywhere outside of my home for them to be looked after, I would want to make sure that the person has a mask on, of course,
Mhm.
gloves, of course, and that they don't have any appearance of being sick. They don't sound sick. And from what I can tell through the mask, like eye wise and their body language, they're not sick at all because
Mhm.
there were some cases where animals they say caught it, but you would want to make sure that your animal doesn't, get any kind of disease or sickness because they do get it, but they're also taught proper hygiene for the animals as well. So
Mhm.
they would know the best practices. And then you can also ask them if they have their animal care license because they're supposed to in order to operate or to take care of any animal and even dog walkers. They're supposed to have their animal care license because they're taking care of their animals. They have to provide them with water and food depending on how long you're not, home. So that's something important to also ask. Same thing with tattoo. Before you get your tattoo or your permanent makeup done, you need to say, do you have your tattoo license and may I please see it with your ID? Those are important things that you have the right to ask. Because I've done it. I have no shame. And then I'll also ask, who is your teacher? And I'll be like, okay, I know him. So you're not lying. It's not fake.
Well, you're a food inspector, so you're a food and safety inspector, so it's natural that you will ask for that. But I would like for you to run and get the license so that people can know what it actually looks like or the
Okay.
grade. Okay.
I'll show you the animal care too. Give me 1 second.
Yes. So we thank God for this wonderful time we're having here on the Ladies Lounge talking about food safety with our wonderful Shatara Earl. She works for the Department of Health and Safety. And any questions that you have, I so far I have not seen any questions, but this is very important information that we need at this time, especially since we're entering here in New York and I'm sure other states, they also have openings, reopenings of restaurants. This is very important information in light of our present situation with the COVID 19. It is important for all of us to know these things. As she said before, the managers of the restaurants and the businesses, they're supposed to provide and make sure that their staff is cleared to work into the facility and they're not sick and that they have sanitizers and whatever place that they have, they constantly sanitize and the staff wears masks and uses clean hands or clean gloves or their hands are sanitized before they serve any food. So we thank God. She's going to show us now some of the pertinent information and of course she's going to post them. Okay.
This is the soup kitchen certificate now. So
Okay.
before, a lot of people got this one.
Okay, 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 okay.
Now it looks like this, and this also supposed to be on you at all times. This
Okay.
is what it looks like, and I make it. So my job entails a lot of things. So what I do is I am in charge of scheduling and rescheduling certain classes. Soup kitchen is one of my classes. Infection control is another one, and mobile vending is another one. So generally, if anyone ever signs up for those classes, you're going to be talking to me at some point, and you're going to be seeing me, because once you complete the mobile vending and the tattoo class, I generate a letter that serves as your temporary, well, for infection control, it serves as your temporary license to go out and practice tattooing and permanent makeup. With mobile vending, it just certifies, well, it shows that you have completed the mobile vending license, and you hold that letter in case something happens or you don't get it. Food protection certificate, which is this, and I actually earned all of these, so it's not something that just got printed out. I actually earned these. So this is the food protection certificate. And this is what it looks like. If it doesn't have this gold seal on it, and we changed the seal, I have to get a new one. Then it's not real. So I also deal with the food protection classes at night, the 5 to 8 p.m. I'm the one that's taking your pictures, and I'm the one that's creating it. I don't do the inspections. I actually work with the inspectors. Our instructors were former inspectors that went out in the restaurant, and they're the one that teaches the classes. But generally, I don't have a tattoo license and I don't have a mobile vending license, but I have taken the classes. Those I actually have to pay for. So it's a different story. But nevertheless, those are what they look like. So I'll show you again. This is Soup Kitchen, and this is the back. And then this is the food protection certificate everybody has. So it would have your picture, a small one, the gold seal, and the certificate number is here, and the date that you took it with your name, top and bottom, and then it's at the bottom. We've changed the design of it, and it never occurred to me to print out a new one, because generally what we do is we carry these around in our ID slips, so that when students or prospective students come and they ask us questions, we can show it to them, and so that they know what it looks like and what they're supposed to have, because there are a lot of misconceptions and misinformation about what you need and what you don't need. But like I said, I'll post on the comment section or the websites, and then everybody, you can take a look at it and just explore any idea. Like if you want to get one, you can go ahead and get one.
Okay, this is very important and useful.
I don't hear her. What she said? I can't hear you, mommy. I can't hear her.
I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry.
Oh,
We thank God for you and all this valued information that you have given us concerning food safety. And a lot of the people that usually ask me questions, they're not on. But I know that as they watch this, they will post the questions and you can look at them later on and answer the questions. And she is available to answer the questions that you may find that you have afterwards. And also, she is going to put the information there for where to you report a restaurant. If you find that they're not safe, tattoo parlors, soup kitchen, all of these departments that she did mention that she's over, that you can actually report this to her so she can take action where it needed, because we all need to be safe and they're talking about, every time we see somebody say, oh, stay safe, safe, stay safe, this is what we need to do. Stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need to be safe concerning everything that we do. She talked about the proper hand washing techniques. She did talk about a little bit about the CPR and the license that the chefs are supposed to have, and the license that each person is supposed to have on them as they work in restaurants. So we give God praise for Miss Shatara Earl, and we thank you for being our guest here. And we look forward to seeing you go higher and higher and higher, Miss Shatara, in your job. Hallelujah. And
Yes,
that God
thank
is going
you.
to continue to use you in his kingdom for his glory. And Shatara is a member of Sanctuary of Praise and Worship Center, and her son, Mr. Jaden. I don't know where Mr. Jaden is, but thank God he let mommy work today.
Yes, a full day of work. I've been on the computer all day.
Okay, so we give God praise for this in very valuable information, and everyone is the comments are everyone is saying things that they never heard of these things before, and it's very important for us to know these information. So
Definitely.
at this time, we're going to close the Ladies Lounge. We thank you for coming on, for being a part of the Ladies Lounge, and I hope today you learned something. Hope everybody learned something here at the Ladies Lounge, because it's a place to learn, a place to love, and a place to laugh. So we'll be back
Definitely.
here in the Ladies Lounge next Tuesday with another guest at 3 p.m., where we are going to learn something else. And we're going to relax a little more with the lull, and then we're going to laugh. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you on next week. Bless you. Thank you for being on our guest. I am your host, Pastor Michelle C. Aldridge, or MCA Aldridge.